All right, so to continue discussing Godot, let me go over some stuff real quick on this. Number one, why am I using Godot? Because I want to do my scripting in C#, which lets Unreal Engine out. Also, Tim Sweeney is the fucking devil, and Epic Games is trying to regress the games industry back to the days of the 80s and 90s when large publishers decided what games you were allowed to buy and play, and fuck that shit. So I'm not interested in partnering up with Epic Games Studios in any way, shape, or form. Number two, obviously the other option is Unity, but I really want to be able to build my engine from source. I like the open source nature of Godot because I tried to use Unity. I was making a game a while back, and funnily enough, it was particle systems that I had issues with, and I found a bug in the engine, and they admitted it was a bug in the engine, and then they proceeded to just not give a shit and not fix it for months. So, yeah, fuck that. It's not the level of commitment that I want from a game engine. So I went with Godot because it's open source. I have the source. If you look down here in the corner, you can see that I'm using version 3.3.3 release candidate, which at the time that I started development work on this game, that was the most recent version. I grabbed a copy of the source code from Git, and I compiled it myself, and this is encapsulated. It doesn't matter what they do. They can upgrade all they want. If I don't upgrade this, nothing changes. They can change anything they want in the source. If I don't update it, nothing changes. And if I run into any bug, if I run into any problem, I have all the source. I can jump in there. I can look at it. I can potentially fix it. But I try not to do that because, you know, I'm trying to just like use the game engine. I don't want to be a contributor to the game engine. I want to build my own fucking game. So I'm working with particle systems, and the thing that I want is I want a particle system to fire when I click on a button. So what I'm going to do is I just want this to happen. You see all those nifty little particles? All those neat little particles that come out. Isn't that cool? This is the most naive implementation of a particle system that you can do, okay? And this is where I started because it's pretty much what I wanted. The first thing I do is I grab the particle system, which I call spray, and I just get that it's the node called sprayer underneath of this current node. Now, inside here, I have in the initial system, I have a label that is the label on the button, and I have the sprayer particle system. And what I do inside of the script in initial system is I grab a reference to that sprayer, and I take that sprayer, and whenever I press the button, I just go, okay, I'm emitting particles. And I print that to the debug screen, and I turn emitting to true, which works great, as long as I'm not doing much more than just going, whee, there's some particles. Well, that's all well and good. There's only one problem. What if I click it several times? It's trying to emit more particles, but you'll notice here, that time I only got 5 particles. I'm supposed to be getting 8 particles at a time. I got 6 there. I got 1 there. I got 4 there. Why am I not getting all of the particles that I want? Well, among other things, what goes on with particle systems, I haven't dug too much into this, but what it looks like is if you turn the particle system on when the particle system is no longer emitting, but there are still particles on the screen, things get fucked up. And I don't think it even really matters whether they're on the screen. I think it has something to do with C#'s garbage collection. Like I said, haven't looked too far into it. So what I did instead was I used a guarded mechanism. Now the guarded mechanism emits particles, and you can see it emitting particles. You can see that come up in the debug text down there. But if I keep clicking, it'll say that it's already emitting particles. It says it's emitting particles, but then if I click a bunch more, it says it's already emitting particles. Because if you come over here to the code, what I'm doing is I'm going, okay, if it's not emitting, then we'll turn emitting on. But if it is emitting, then we're just not going to do anything. We're going to say we're already emitting particles. Okay? But as you can probably tell, I still have the same problem. See, look, I only got 4 particles. I'm still having the same issue. It's not resetting appropriately. So what we have here is we have a race condition between when it's emitting and when it's ready to emit again. Okay? And I don't want to try and track that down in the engine source. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a manual pool of particle systems. And this is the most brain-dead way of doing a pool of particle systems. Okay? I'm going to show you this. This is not terribly smart, but I'm going to show you this. In the pool system, I have literally got 4 individual particle systems: sprayer, sprayer 2, sprayer 3, sprayer 4. Now you could instantiate this and make it an array, which will make it slightly smarter, okay? But you still end up with basically the same problem of you got this big if-else ladder. And if the spray is emitting, well, is spray 2 emitting? Is spray 3 emitting? Is spray 4 is emitting? Well, all the emitters are emitting. But if not, okay, we'll use emitter 4. We'll use emitter 3. We'll use emitter 2. We'll use emitter 1. So it'll just automatically figure out which emitter it can use by walking through all of them. So if I do that in the manual pool, you can see that now I get multiple particle systems firing. But if I let these finish, look, I got just 1. I got just 2. I got 3. So that's not the right answer, which again is because of this race condition in between them. Okay? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to set up a dynamic pool. Now the dynamic pool is my new effort to fix this, and that effort is I'm going to create a brand new spray. Now this is complex. Okay? So we're going to walk through this, and what we've got here is I want to take a look at how I've implemented this over here so you know what the mindset is. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, okay? This is the hack that I put together. Now what I've got here is I've got the label, which is just the label on the button. I've got the sprayer, and then I've got my pool, which is just a control with nothing in it, okay? Now, if I go into my dynamic system here, what I do is I start off at the ready function. I grab a reference to the sprayer, which I store in spray. I grab a reference to the pool, which I store in pool. And then when we press the button, I get the current count of sprayers. Okay, I get the child count of the pool. And the first time I do that, that comes back and it goes, we don't have any children. And then I have a counter. I have spray cur, which is the current sprayer, okay? And I set that to 0. We're going to start at 0. And then we have an empty reference, particles 2D, the sprayer. Now, if the spray count is 0, I've got nothing to look at. So I'm creating the initial emitter. So the sprayer is a duplicated version of spray. Spray.duplicate will duplicate the node, but it just duplicates a node. And I have to say in C# to duplicate it as the type that I want. The sprayer is particles 2D. I have to duplicate it as particles 2D. And I add the child to the pool, okay? You have to add the child to the pool. If you do not add the particle system to your game object tree, if you don't put the node in the tree, it will not work. It will not display anything anywhere. You have to put it in the tree. So if we do have a higher spray count, if it's not the initial emitter, okay, then what we do is we get the first child and we check whether it's emitting. If it's emitting, then we increment the current sprayer and we check whether it's less than the spray count. And we just loop through. And once we get to a point, when we find one that's not emitting, okay, when we find one that's not emitting, we're going to grab the current spray. Now, there's a subtlety to how this works. In a while loop, when you check these conditions, when you say, while the sprayer is emitting and the spray occurs less than the spray count, okay? If the first part is true, it doesn't check the second part, which means the plus plus on the spray cur does not get executed. This is a subtlety. It's not necessarily smart, okay? It's not necessarily the best way to go about things, but I know this is how it works, so I'm going to exploit that this is how it works to make things a little bit quicker and more compact in the editor. So, the sprayer equals get the child using spray cur. Now, we check whether the sprayer is emitting. If the sprayer is emitting, okay, then we go ahead and print new emitter, because at this point here, as we're going through, okay, as we're going through and grabbing this out of here, okay, when we come down here, if the sprayer is emitting, all of them are emitting, because we've gotten every single node out of this pool, okay? So if the sprayer is emitting when we get to the end, we need a new emitter. So we duplicate one and we add it as a child. Otherwise, we use the emitter we've got. We've already got the sprayer initialized, and we come down here and we just set the sprayer's emitting property to true. Now, the funny part of this is, what I just did here, iterating through the children and adding a new one if I need one. If I don't have one I can use, I'm going to add one. This is a particle system. This is literally a particle system of particle systems. That's what it does. It creates a brand new particle system if it doesn't have one that's not already running. And it will continue doing this forever. Okay, so now if you take a look over here, if we look at the debug output, you can see that we've got the new emitter 4, and now we've got 3. We've got new emitter 7, new emitter 8. Now it's just cycling through. There's a point. So I get to about 10. Now we're at 11. I think it goes up to like 12 is the farthest I get it. Really trying. No, it's just using the first 11 emitters. But what if I use an auto clicker? If I use an auto clicker, you can see that now we've cranked it up and we've got, I think we've got like 29 emitters now. And all of those work out reasonably well, but the interesting thing is that if we start clicking through, you find that, look there, we still did not get. We still didn't get a full complement of particles there. There's just 4. There's just 3. Now, why is that happening? Well, it's because of that race condition between emitting being false and the particle system being ready to use again. Now, because I'm using an old release candidate, and because we're beyond 3.3.3, we're up to 3.3.4 in actual release now. Reporting this as a bug, it's probably already fixed. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to go in and try to fix it. But what I did figure out was that if you change the number of particles emitted by a particle system, it resets the particle system completely. So by just resetting the amount to the same thing, and this is the only real change I've made here. I've just changed. I am now setting the amount. Now that I'm setting the amount every single time, I will always get the right number of particles. If I wait for these to finish, look at that. Oh, wait a bit there. I click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I always get 8. That fixes it. Now, of course, you may have the issue that if you have a whole lot of particle systems in your game, you may run into the problem that you don't want to create all the possible systems that you can. Okay? So what you might want to do is you might want to set a cap on the number of particle systems you're allowed to have. And what I've done here is I've set that cap to 10. If the spray count is less than the spray cap, I'll make a new emitter. And if it has hit the new spray cap, then I say all emitters are in use, and I say set do spray to false. Do spray up at the top is set to true. I set it to false down here, and then if we do the spray, then I set the amount and I set it to emitting. Other than that, that's pretty much the only change. And what you find here is we get the same results, but even if I run an auto clicker, it doesn't go higher than 10, okay? And if we come and we look at the debug output over here, well, it helps if you actually search to the one that's running. If you come over here, you can see that it gets to all emitters in use pretty quickly. It'll crank its way through those 10, and then it'll start saying all emitters are in use. So that makes things easy. Now, what I've got right now is an entirely different problem. And that problem is that inside of my game, let me open it up here. Inside of my game, I have got a need for 63 different particle systems. That's a lot. And I don't want to manually configure them. So what I would like to do is figure out a way to do this in code. And the way that immediately comes to mind to do this is I want to take the capped system, and I want to save the branch as a scene, and then I want to use that scene and its script to implement the new particle systems. And the idea here is that I should be able to just run these particle systems, and I should be able to instantiate them just like easily from inside the system instead of having to place each and every one of them individually in the editor. Now, what I would ideally like to do is I would like to tell the individual button that's going to set it off. I'd like to say, hey, you, instantiate that scene and stick the pool of particle systems underneath it here. And then have it I would just like it to pull in the scene itself. And I'd like it to be able to configure that entirely in code, probably during the ready method. It would happen way up here toward the top of that. Now this is getting kind of ridiculous. We're almost 4,000 lines of code on this particular project. Do you want to save the changes? Did I make any changes? Yeah, may as well save them. But I do have the first particle system working, and it's working just fine. And you can see that as I run, even if I run an auto clicker, it throws panties up there as you gain panties, and they kind of shrink and disappear as they get close to where they pop in. Now, what I want to do is I want to have the individual, I want to have these power-ups producing a particle that flies up in the air and it kind of shows off that, yeah, you just bought a power-up. I want something to happen there. And I don't have any sound effects yet, but yeah, this is getting, all of the functionality is in. You know, like literally all of the functionality is here. Like I've got the gem store down here, and I can buy gems, and it keeps track of how much real money I've spent. Like right there, I just spent $200, and I've got the 5,000 gems, and I can use those 5,000 gems to buy stuff. I can use it to buy warps. I can use the warp to jump forward a week, and bam, it sends me a whole bunch of panties. And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that. And I've got a guard on warps right now where it won't let you use 2 warps in a row. You have to go spend some money before it'll let you use another warp, and then you're going to have to go spend more money before it'll let you use another one. And what I'm trying to stop with that is I tested something, and what I tested was I whacked the gimme 50,000 gems button like a whole bunch of times, and then I used all of the money to buy 1 week warps, and I literally used warps to just spam 20 years of grinding into the game. And I was amazed at how incredibly stupid that is. So that's a bad experience, and I don't want anybody to have that experience as a player who has actually spent money on the game. So I put this guard in here where if you buy some warps, you know, you can buy all the warps you want, but after you use a warp, like if you use a 1 day warp, you can't use any warps until you buy at least one upgrade. You need to buy some upgrades before you can use another warp. And the entire point of this is to just stop you from spamming warps. You'll always be able to afford something. So I know like a lot of people will just go, well, I'll just use a warp, buy a warp, use a warp, buy a warp. And if you go back and forth doing that, yeah, if you're going to go to that much trouble, then go ahead. But look, I mean, it's like, this is 4 weeks and it takes you up to level 19. And if you just play the game, getting to level 19 takes like 2 hours. It's just not that big a deal. So yeah, I put that function in there. And obviously I've got all of these power-ups, and I've got the new stuff over here. I've got tacos, burritos, wieners, burgers, pizza, and onigiri. There was a recommendation from a Discord member to change the name of onigiri to donut as a Pokemon reference. And I thought, yeah, it's a little on the nose, but what if I use an icon of a donut for the onigiri, and then that will be funny. And I did that, and I thought it was funny for like 5 seconds. And then I thought, all the people who don't get the joke are going to report this as a bug. So the 5 seconds of amusement I got out of it, just really not worth it. So yeah, I pulled that. I decided not to use that. Pardon me a moment. So yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, I've got all of the functionality into the game. So for example, you can create all of the different types of rainbow panties, and you collect gems. Every time you make a pair of rainbow panties, you get a gem. And it costs a gem to make a ring. So as you can see here, I can make some green rings, and I can make some blue rings. Man, I can make a lot of blue rings. I can make some pink rings. And you can see that that's really cranking stuff up. And then I can make some gold panties there. And then I can prestige. And look at the panties fly. Look at that. It's just amazing how fast you progress through the game. Once you've done this prestige, it's like, look at that. We're already at level 10. It's just cranking through. Let's buy a bunch of blue potions. Let's buy a bunch of pink potions. And look at that. We're already almost at 15. Let's do some clicking. Man, everything just cranks right through on this. Now remember, this is after spending $200 in real money, so this isn't what normal progress is going to look like after 12 minutes. Now things are starting to slow down. But look, we're already at level 16. We're closing up on level 17 reasonably quickly. Also, we can reduce the health of the Pansugami. And we can reduce the price of power-ups. Continue reducing there. We can increase the number of Pantsu that we get. I'll pull out the auto clicker for this one. I'll pull it back out for this one. Might as well pull it out there too. Yeah, we're already at level 19. And there's level 20. Look at that. Fire up the auto clicker. Now this doesn't. Now the interesting thing here is one of the things that that I mentioned to one of the Discord users, one of my moderators, in fact. I said that in any free-to-play game, roughly half of the upgrades are stupid, and they amount to attacks on people who can't do calculus. So it's. And that's very much the case. There are a number of relatively stupid upgrades that you can buy, which you really should not waste gems or let alone real money. You shouldn't be wasting that on these upgrades. And really, the only thing that you should be buying gems for is to make that little bit extra to get the upgrade that you can't quite afford right now. Because that's what really matters in this particular situation, is to just get those last few gems. It's like, oh, I want to buy a burrito, but I only have 10 gems. I'm going to need 10 more gems. And did I not get the 10 gems? Did I not get them? What the hell? 10 gems button not work? 30 works. 50 works. 200 works. 600 works. 1500, 5k, 20k, 50k. I gotta check on that. Let me check the node. On gem 10 button toggled. Okay, so let's open that up. Nobody really wants to watch you do debugging, but wait, do I have toggled and not? It's the wrong one. I mapped the wrong signal. On gem 10 button pressed connect. Yep, that'll do it. So let's disconnect that. Okay, so now that should work. Okay. But yeah, that's what, let me go ahead and whack hard reset. But if you need just like one little minor upgrade and you're going to top off so you can afford that one upgrade, that's fine. But buying a bunch of gems so that you can get a bunch of upgrades, really not. I mean, if you want to skip a little bit, if you don't want to wait until tomorrow so you grab yourself a one-day time warp, that's one thing, okay? But these are not huge costs here. But if you're thinking about like, I'm going to do a whole bunch of 1 week time warps, so I'm going to buy thousands and thousands of gems, that's probably a bad idea. That's probably not something that you want to do. If you got that kind of money, great, but you know, and I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here because this is basically going to be a free-to-play game, and I'm going to be relying on people buying gems to make income off of it. But bluntly speaking, when you come down to it, I don't want to make money off people's stupid decisions and gambling problems, okay? I mean, If you make a mildly bad decision, that is one thing. I'm okay with that. If you decide to spend $2 you probably shouldn't spend because you can make your own coffee instead of going to Starbucks, I'm not going to complain about that. But if you're spending thousands of dollars on a game, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's not a smart thing to do. Even though I would like it very much, if you have thousands of dollars to throw away and you'd like to throw them away in my game, please, by all means, give me the money if you can afford it. But I'm really working hard on building a game where you don't have to do that. So, yeah, that's... Well, that's where things are. So that's this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something about particle systems. I'm going to try to do something with instantiating it in scenes over the course of the next couple of days, and who knows? I may have that ready for the stream this weekend. Wait, what day is this weekend? Yeah, the 6th is Saturday. Yeah, so my son will be here on Saturday. I don't know if he'll be down here when I'm streaming, but you never can tell. He might be. So he might show up. You might get to meet him. He turned 15 the other day. I find that hard to believe, but I'm tremendously proud of him, and he's awesome. So anyway, that'll be that. Hit like, leave a comment, subscribe, especially if you have a good comment about like how to instantiate particle systems from code. If you have guidance on that that'll save me some time, that'd be awesome. And even if you don't have guidance on that that'll save me some time, if you have guidance that'll save anybody some time, please, by all means, help one another out.